La Liga defending is
trash.
Absolute
Trash.
0 out of 10. Defending and La Liga, they do not mix. They're like oil and water. Defending is not in the La Liga lexicon. It is not in the Spanish footballing lexicon. But ladies and gentlemen, before we get onto that, before I address that topic, first and foremost, I'm going to go and say that thank you for everybody that was on the stream for the watch along. If you guys know or don't know, these videos, obviously they're post-game reactions, but I do live watch alongs to these games, whether it's PSG, whether it's Barcelona, Real Madrid, Premier League games, Champions League games. I try to go and do live watch alongs. So make sure to be subscribed, tune in, and hit the bell for those watch alongs. Now, to get back to the video, I'm going to preface by saying this. I'm going to split this video up into 2 parts. One, a more analytical, tactical analysis of the game, and another where it's going to be, let's say, a bit more just rhetoric. All right. So, but I'll let you guys know. I'll let you guys know when I make the switch. Starting off with the more tactical analysis of it all. So, today, FC Barcelona, playing in their Estadio Johan Cruyff, a 6,000-seater, smacked Valencia 6-0 with goals by Lopez, braces by Lopez, Rafinha, and Lewandowski. And to start off by saying, before I go and talk about what I'm going to say afterwards, kudos to Barca. Kudos to Barca. Barca looked significantly, and I mean significantly better than they did in their game against Rayo and their game against Levante. I thought everything today, the press was better. I think the high line wasn't nearly as bad and wasn't nearly as caught as much. I think also that has to do with the fact that Valencia were really poor. But I think Barca overall today played significantly better, and especially with the fact that this wasn't your main Barca team, but it shows that maybe there's a lot more depth and a lot more breadth to this Barca team, and it's not solely reliant on their best players. I thought Marcus Rashford today looked lively, even though in terms of successful dribbles and whatnot, it wasn't all there. I thought overall Barcelona looked significantly better, dominated the game from A to Z. Valencia never looked like doing anything ever at any point in the game. So kudos and congratulations to Barca on that one. In terms of going and looking at, like players of the game here, you go and you look, I think there's no debate. Fermin Lopez today was absolutely amazing. The first finish on that goal, you can argue that maybe the keeper should be doing better there in actuality. And I probably would agree with you, but in the way to have the presence of mind to take that shot early, to catch the keeper out a bit. And for me, the biggest thing is the assist by Ferran Torres. Even though overall I thought that there were moments that he was a bit wasteful, let's be honest, in front of a goal. That touch to send Fermin through, oh my goodness, generational. 10 out of 10, chef's kiss. Apart from that, Pedri was again excellent today, dominated the midfield, dictated play, was really high up, was spinning around players, threading passes through in the final third, was absolutely excellent. Today, I don't think there's anybody that had a poor game. I would argue that Bardghji, I'm sorry, I absolutely butchered his name there. I thought today you didn't really see much of him, and honestly, like when he came off, I didn't really even realize he was playing. So there's that maybe one negative there. He wasn't really able to do much. But apart from that, everybody else today, again, some of this is due to the fact that, again, Valencia didn't really offer any resistance from their side. But today, everybody else was good. You go and you see everybody here is in the green. Everybody, the lowest score here is a 7.6, 7.5, which is Eric Garcia. Bar, obviously, Rooney Bardghji. Rashford, I thought, was good again, provoking, getting an assist. Martin, and even the players that came off the bench had instant impacts. So overall, I think Barcelona were actually good. I thought the tactics were a lot better. I thought the press wasn't nearly suicidal. I think the issue that was found in the Rayo game and the Levante game, and even though I am not a fan of Barcelona's, it's not the high line that's the issue, it's the offside trap, is the fact that, for me, there's too much risk. But if you are going to go and decide to play with the offside trap, I think what you need to make sure is that you have constant pressure, because the issue is the moment that you allow the opposition team to have a moment's respite to lift their head up and pick out a pass, and you try to play the offside trap, you are cooked. And that's the issue. But today, regardless of who it was, the center backs, the keeper, the midfielder, every single time, the Barcelona players would not let these people breathe. Whether it was Fermin Lopez, was Ferran, whether it was Rashford, or there's Bardghji in terms of defensively, they were always there heckling them and harassing them. I think perhaps before, you had Hansi Flick sort of come out against his players or whatnot, or sort of try to stroke their ego or get them in there in terms of their ego and say that like there's a bit too many egos. I think there was maybe this thing of they saw themselves better or greater than they actually were, and were sort of, foregoing their defensive responsibilities. But I think today, the fact that these players, especially a lot of them, had a lot to prove today, had to go and show that, well, you know, I'm going to go and run, I'm going to go and work for the manager, so on and so forth. So there's that aspect. In terms of that, again, Barcelona did great, weren't really troubled defensively. So I think today, defensively, they looked significantly better. You go and you look at it, they only, you know, suffered 2 shots, 1 shot on target, didn't have any big chances. Juan Garcia didn't really have much to do in this game, bar, you know, playing out and, you know, basically being another spectator. Didn't really have much else to do. So on that point, kudos to Barcelona. And obviously, again, the only, I guess, downside, again, outside of football is, again, this playing in the stadium. Playing in a 6,000 seater, having a capacity today of 5,862 for your first your opening a league game. I'm sorry, regardless of how you go and say this is shambolic. You can't have Barcelona, in many people's eyes, and arguably I would say for me personally, the second biggest club in the world in the history of football, playing their first opening a Liga game, right, in the 𝙀𝙀 Cruyff. And it's not like, okay, we knew this is last minute stuff. Even this, you're listening on ESPN, they weren't even allowed to do so. They had to, you know, find new rules, circumnavigate. It's an exception. It's a once in a lifetime thing that they're allowing to do it, because in La Liga, you can't field a stadium this small, having to install VAR at the last minute. I just hope for the good of Football Club Barcelona, for the good of football, honestly, that they sort out these issues, these financial issues, that they go, whether it's the Camp Nou, the Montjuic, whatnot, that they sort this out. That's that on that aspect. And that's that basically for the more analytical side. So now I go and say to any Barca fans, if you guys, you know, don't like to get rattled, whatnot, leave the video now. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'll see you guys next time. Now to all those other people, specifically that were coming at me and we're on TikTok, YouTube, this, that, and the other. And I'm coming to this again. This is where Junior, the PSG fan, comes out and goes and analyzes this. Voila. La Liga defending is diddly squat. Every single time people saying, oh, but you know, Dembele or PSG, it's Liga, I'm going to start saying the same thing with the Liga, because I am sorry. How is it that FC Barcelona, all right, a big La Liga team, one of the best teams in La Liga, go and play Valencia, who is not some, you know, minnow, not some relegation battling team, go and smack them 6-0. And the thing is, it's not the first time, because last year they pumped them 7-1 too. There is no defending in this league. No defending in this league whatsoever. I'm sorry. This game, yes, Barcelona were excellent today. There's no taking away. But a lot of that was also Valencia were dog water. Were absolute trash. At some point, guys, we need to go and speak honestly, candidly. In Frank, on dit, il faut parler franc. Let's be frank. Let's be Frank Lampard. Let's speak frankly. Valencia were trash. I watched the PSG Lens game before. If Lens played Valencia, they are putting BTA. They are smacking the living daylights out of Valencia. And I'm being serious with this. I'm not even rating. I'm not saying that Lens are this crazy team. If Lens, the same Lens that played PSG at the Parc des Princes, played Valencia, Club de Football, they are smacking the living daylights out of them. This team was terrible. And to show you how terrible it is, first and foremost, you look at the stats. 72% possession to 28. Okay, that's fine. You're playing Barcelona. It's kind of normal to have that. But I am sorry. When I go and I see that you have 2 shots on target the entire game. 2 shots on target. Ladies and gentlemen, I was taking notes. At some point, it was a game. Ladies and gentlemen, Valencia got their first shot. Their first shot in the 70th minute. This is a professional football team. This is not some team in the 3rd division of Spanish football. This is a professional La Liga winning team. This is a team that a couple years ago was, you know, in the Europa League, was in Europe. This is a team that has won the La Liga previously in this turn of the century. This was a team that has been to Champions League. This is not some average, bump. This is a established La Liga side getting their first shot in the 70th minute, getting their second shot in the 80th minute, 10 minutes later. And that is all. That is it. They offered nothing. And even in terms, I'm telling you guys, ladies and gentlemen, they could not hold the ball, keep possession of the ball for more than 20 seconds. Not once in the entire game, or they did it the first time, they did. The first time it happened was in the 83rd minute, where they held it for 20.6 seconds. I had my stopwatch. I had it on my phone. We were timing it. I am sorry. When you are playing these bum teams, let's call it what it is, because you guys like to go and make fun of PSG, Angers, this, that, and the other, Montpellier. When you're playing a team that cannot even hold possession, a professional team, for 20 seconds until the 83rd minute, I'm sorry, I cannot take this league seriously. And then gets me on to the main thing, the defending in this league. What are you talking about? Listen, that first Rafinha goal, listen, great on him to go and have the vision to not lose on the ball, to be determined on the ball, to go and get it. He goes and gets his goal. But I'm sorry, what is the defender doing there? The second Fermin goal that he goes and scores, it is a bombazo. Clear point. There is no debating that. But again, are you allowing Barca's Cam in your own half get the ball, turn, drive, and shoot the ball uncontested? There is no defending. Defending does not exist in the lexicon of Spanish football. I said this thing in my stream when I streamed the Real Madrid game yesterday. How is it that Real Sociedad are conceding whilst a man up against Madrid? Liga. This is Real Sociedad. This is not some, this is Real Sociedad, an average La Liga team. Okay? The team that 2 years ago was playing in the Champions League, finished top of their Champions League group, are now going and struggling and losing. There is no defending. There is no defending. And this is where I go on and say, I was listening carefully to what I have to say. Scoring in Ligue 1 is significantly more difficult than scoring in La Liga. If you're not happy with this, I'm sorry. The same way you guys say, Liga, Farmers League, I'm going to start going and saying La Liga, Stat Pad League, the Stat Pad League, the Stat Pad League, the Stat Pad League. Because you go and you look, I'm sorry, when Mbappe last year had arguably one of his worst seasons as a professional footballer, right? Obviously, excluding his first, when he was really young, going on, had a slow start in the league, still finished Pichichi, scoring the exact same amount of goals as his best ever season for PSG, 33 goals, winning the European Golden Shoe. He never did that in Ligue 1, ever. He never did it. Yet in his first season, in which you would say had a overall maybe good campaign individually, but Mbappe's standards, not great, he still goes and wins the Pichichi for a Madrid side that were not great. I'm sorry, what do you mean? When you go and you see Messi going in his final year in La Liga, spanging 30 goals casually with bum players around him, getting 11 assists, and his first year in France with Eminem goes and gets 6 goals and 15 assists, and the second year gets 16 goals, 16 assists. Guys, I am sorry, the defending in La Liga is not good, at least compared to Liga. The Liga defending is light years beyond anything you have in La Liga. Defending is not a notion that exists in the thought of Spanish teams. Bar your Barças, your Reals, your Atletico Madrids. Bar those teams, defending, ça n'existe pas. Rien du tout. And now this is what you're going to say. It's actually, no. Because when PSG went, and this is another thing, when PSG went and beat Nantes, all right, people said, Liga is not serious. How is it PSG can go and rotate their entire squad, blah, 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 this, that, and the other, and still win the game. Okay. So let's look at Barca here. Let's look at this Barca. Let's compare how many starters, guaranteed starters that will start normally week in, week out for Barca and big games and whatnot for them, we're in the starting 11 for Barca here. Juan Garcia, that's 1. Cubarsí, that's 2. Pedri, that's 3. Koundé, that's 4. Gerard Martin, not a starter. Rashford, not a starter, not yet. Ferran Torres, not a starter, even though he's been all right. He's not a starter. Lopez, you could argue is probably the closest thing there, but also not a starter. Typically, whenever he's fit, Dani Olmo starts over him. And Barjaji, obviously not a starter. Lamine Yamal goes there. Casado, also as good as he is, and he is obviously coming back from injury, so on and so forth, not a starter. So when you go and you tell me that this is supposed to be, again, this is not some, PSG, when they go on our stat pad sessions, it's against Montpellier, it's against Saint-Etienne, teams that are getting relegated or at the bottom end of the table. Last year, ladies and gentlemen, Valencia finished 12th. This is a mid-table team that they smacked around twice, 2 years in a row by a 6-goal difference. And you're going to come and tell me, but Liga. Guys, it is harder to score in Liga. Compared to La Liga, it is harder. I've seen it with my own 2 eyes. And all these people go and say, go watch the Liga game. Go and actually watch it. PSG need to struggle way more to break down a team that goes and plays some terrorism ball in Liga compared to Barcelona. You guys say, these super low blocks. I've seen it with my own eyes. There was no sense of defending here in this game. Valencia were dog water. They were absolute trash. And we have to go and say, let's be honest here. Again, Real Madrid yesterday, being a man down, still causing havoc. Comparing that to PSG, comparing that to that same Nantes game, you go and you look, when they beat Nantes, just to go and have a look at the squad, because we said, oh, PSG were able to, heavily rotate their squad, this, that, and the other. How is it serious and whatnot? Let's look at PSG. So for PSG, 𝙎𝙊𝘾𝘼𝙎𝙾, he's a starter. Hernandez, no. Beraldo, no. Zabardi, you could argue, but we'll say no. 𝙎𝙊𝘾𝘼, no. Vitinha, yes. Ruiz, yes. And 𝙎𝙊𝘾, I go and say yes. Even though you could say, oh, no, but towards the end of the season, 𝙎𝙾𝘾 last season is a player that played the most minutes last season. And you could argue it was always between him and 𝙀𝙖. In cup finals, he was starting. So that's 4. So 4 players from each team were, guaranteed starters. This is a rotated PSG team in the same way that this is a rotated Barca team. Barca team went and gone and smacked them 6-0, brought on their cavalry, yes, later on. So did PSG in this game. Brought on their cavalry in the 60th minute, ended up winning 1-0. You go and you look at the stats. Of course, yes, number one, first and foremost, Nantes had more shots, more attempts. PSG didn't dominate nearly as much, weren't nearly as free, didn't have nearly as big chance to create it, whereas Barcelona's going here. And you can't go and say, oh, no, Barca and PSG, you can argue, Barca is marginally better, but the difference is not so clear that you're creating 5 big chances and that PSG is what's creating 1. So again, about all this myth, I'm sorry. You see, you've been found out. I was blind, but now I see. This whole gimmick of, it doesn't count Dembele, PSG, they play in the McDonald's League, this, then the other, say whatever you want. It's all till the cows come home. La Liga, former Santander, the Bank League. Liga, the defending, trash, dog water, non-existent. Just like the ether, it does not exist. It is a concept. It is a figment of your imagination. Stop with this gimmick. Stop with this gimmick. It has been exposed today. Madrid and Barca are doing whatever they want. So yes, you can go and say maybe for the title. Okay, sure. But in terms of the average normal thing, I am not seeing a massive difference between your average La Liga team and your average Liga 1 team. I am not seeing a difference. None whatsoever. So stop with this thing. So when you're going to go criticize PSG, now what goes around comes around. The same thing here. And the other thing I also want to talk about is a narrative that was popping up specifically after the Champions League and when it was really the Ballon d'Or, and still comes up obviously now with the Ballon d'Or coming in a couple of days here, was the fact that, Dembele, is he really that important to PSG? You go PSG, I remember specifically it was when PSG went and smacked around Atletico Madrid in the Club World Cup, smacked them 4-0. They said, you see, PSG don't actually really need Dembele. He's not all that. They're still able. It's just more so that he's a great team around him. Whereas Yamal is so important to Barca. I remember that. Noted in memory. Noted in RAM. Put it in storage. We bring it out here today. Señor 𝙎𝙖𝘾𝘼𝘎𝘾 was not on the pitch. Señor 𝙎𝙖𝘾𝘼𝘎𝘾 was struggling with back pain. Señor 𝙎𝙖𝘾𝘼𝘋 was injured on international duty. Señor 𝙎𝙖𝘾𝘼𝘋 did not make an appearance. Did not stop them from putting 6 past Valencia. 6. No Lamine Yamal. You can't say nothing. All the other players were there. Voila. So you see now how do you like it? Now how do you like it? You see all these things you guys go and say, what goes around comes around. I think you could argue that this is a good thing. There is no Lamine Yamal dependence, or at least it shows that Barcelona are able to still go and compete and do well without Lamine Yamal, which I think in the long run should be a good thing. You don't want to be completely and utterly dependent on one player like Barcelona was in the past with Messi. So that's a good thing. But I'm going and saying, you'd go and call me crazy, and I'm not saying that at all. If you put Lamine Yamal into this team, they're a better team. Just like when you put Dembele in that team, they're a better team. Voila. But that is basically all I have to go and say on that. But this just goes and shows that you go and see this whole thing. Voila. If you want to go and talk about it, at least come and watch Ligue 1. Because a lot of these people I've been discussing with or have been, commenting under, my posts and whatnot, YouTube, whatnot, saying, Ligue 1 wash, this, that, and the other. You guys have never seen a single Ligue 1 game in its entirety. I watched Barcelona, I watched Real Madrid, and on occasion I watched Atletico Madrid. Now we're here on live. We were here all together to witness it. And the defending in the league, I'm sorry, it is not all that. It is leagues beyond what PSG, you can say whatnot, attacking-wise, yes. I'm not saying that the attacking-wise, yes, La Liga is better. But I'm sorry, defensively, Ligue 1 has it every single day of the week. So, guys, end this myth. Stop this thing. If you guys want to go and say, PSG doesn't count, they play in Ligue 1, I'll say the same thing about La Liga. And with that, thank you guys very much. It's been a pleasure speaking to you. And remember, stay safe, stay kind, and stay blessed. Godspeed.